In the current immigration debate, I think it's worth pointing out that there's, to me, like a collective amnesia about immigration issues and their historic origins and the issues involved. Few recognize that we've had immigration debates and issues from the earliest days of our republic. Soon after the United States became the United States with the Constitution, when the Federalist Party gained control of Congress with President Adams, we were soon involved in undeclared war with France. It's in the midst of the French Revolution. And the Federalist Party noticed very quickly that French refugees trying to come here almost certainly would, as soon as they became citizens, join or support Thomas Jefferson's political party, which was their political opposition. Well, they wanted to shut that down. So they succeeded. They passed what's known as the Alien Act, which greatly extended the time that it took to become a citizen from 5 to 14 years. Well, that was obvious what the intent was. Now, it didn't last very long because when Jefferson becomes president, his Congress repeals that legislation, but from the very start, immigration issues have been politicized in our history. Probably the next scenario I would want to bring to your attention is on our southwestern frontier. Well, picture a relatively new nation that has a long, undefended frontier, and they want immigrants to settle in that territory. And so they make it easy for immigrants to come in. But they soon discover that the immigrants that come in don't want to speak their language, don't want to obey their laws, certainly don't want to practice their religion, and cause other problems. Well, who was this? That was the United States of Mexico. They made the mistake of inviting Americans to come into what was to them their northwestern frontier. The British had warned them not to do that, that you couldn't trust Americans. But they didn't listen and invited Americans to come in. At first it worked out okay because the first Americans to come in, like Stephen Austin, were honorable and were going to do what they were supposed to do. But relatively soon thereafter, other Americans began to come in bringing their, quote, servants with them, meaning slaves. Well, Mexico had abolished slavery. And then they refused to speak Spanish. They were supposed to be Catholic. They refused to be Catholic. So Mexican government said, wait a minute, this is a big mistake. So they decided to shut down the frontier. Say, we're not going to allow any more Americans in. When you say that it didn't work, and more Americans came in illegally, well, let's fast forward. When Texas revolts for their independence against Mexico, many of those who were involved in the revolution were there illegally. You look at the Alamo as an example. There were a fair number of defenders there who came after the border was supposedly closed, and therefore were illegal immigrants. I wonder how many are aware of that part of our history.